Your body doesn't need a certain type of diet. It needs nutrition. It needs vitamins. It needs minerals. It needs the building blocks found in our food to feel good, to function well. Focus on that food that energizes you, that satisfies you, that supports your long-term health. Making those small investments now pays off big in the future. If you think you're young enough or active enough or skinny enough to get away with eating whatever and not providing your body with healthy fuel, you're missing out. Hello, everyone. My name is Allie Virtue. I'm a functional medicine nutritionist and host of the Pre-Diet podcast. And let's get into today's episode. So today I want to take you from chaos to clarity. We are going to teach you how to build balanced meals. Not just to build healthy meals, I want you to be confident in building your healthy meals. These meals are going to help you support your energy level, your blood sugar, which is also going to give you good energy, your satiety, so you're going to feel full and energized. Your digestion is just going to be a smooth process that happens in the background. And most of all, these meals are going to help you fuel your long-term health without destroying your relationship with food or falling into another diet culture trap. I'm curious, have you ever found yourself eating a super healthy, maybe low calorie, low carb, whatever meal, no flavor, and then you find yourself wondering, why am I raiding the pantry an hour later? Yeah, we're not going to do that anymore. We're going to break up that cycle. So today I am breaking down exactly what makes a meal health promoting, not just low calorie, not just clean, but actually supportive of your health, your hormones, your gut, your mood, and your emotions. Yes, food can actually help make you a healthier, happier person mentally and emotionally. So, first of all, what is a health promoting meal? Well, I would really love to ditch the naming of clean foods, dirty foods, bad foods, good foods, low carb, low calorie, healthy choice, whatever. All of those descriptors. I just want to talk about food. I want to reframe. So we have a health promoting meal is one that supports my blood sugar balance. So I'm not crashing, I'm not spiking my blood sugar super high and then kind of feeling sleepy or tired. These meals should be satisfying. They should feel nourishing. They provide a lot of micronutrients. So that's vitamins, minerals, fiber, protein, carbohydrates, those building blocks that my body truly needs to function well, to feel good, etc. And they also leave you feeling energized. You shouldn't feel stuffed. You shouldn't be starving. You shouldn't be hunting for snacks endlessly. It's really, really crucial to pay attention to that feedback that our body gives us so we know when we've had a good meal or maybe when we've missed the mark a little bit. And just a little reminder, it's not about having perfect meals, it's about having good patterns of eating. And I think this is honestly a practice. And if you think about it as a practice, we can kind of let go of the perfection mindset. We don't need to be perfect with our meals, but we do need to practice it. And sometimes we mess up, but practice gets us closer to better progress with our meals. And there's no point in quitting because we can't quit food. So we might as well keep working on developing these skills. All right, so I'm going to give you a framework to work with. If we think of kind of four building blocks when it comes to creating a nourishing meal for myself. One, I'm going to need a protein source. We need protein because this supports muscle mass, this supports our metabolism, our satiety, so I'm keeping myself full and energized all day. A protein source could be eggs, poultry, seafood, tofu, legumes have some protein in there, yogurt, protein powder, things like that. There are other sources, but that's a short list. If you are measuring your food protein, we want about 20 grams of protein to 40 grams of protein per meal. It's not necessarily by weight, but it's the amount of protein we get. So weight-wise for protein, I would love to see about 4 ounces for most people, even average-sized women like myself, that's 5'5", and then up to 8 ounces if you're a taller athletic male per meal in weight. That's a pretty reasonable amount. So that's our protein source, about half the plate in vegetables. Plants. So this is your veggies, your fruits, some lentils and things like that. But we'll get to carbs in a second, but plants. So half of my plate, I would love to see about half the plate be plants. If you want an actual measurement, I usually teach people about 100 to 200 grams of predominantly vegetables or non-starchy fruits is my goal. And if you don't know what that means as far as grams, one, get yourself a food scale, measure it so you can figure it out. But also that's probably about 1 to 2 cups per meal. So half your plate, 1 to 2 cups per meal, 1 to 200 grams per meal. It's a rough outline. Examples of this would be like spinach, broccoli, peppers, berries like blackberries, blueberries, raspberries, some squashes, salad greens, cauliflower, things like that. So lots of color would be great in there, but that's the second component of my plate. We got the protein. And then our third category is going to be starchy carbohydrates. So carbohydrates also give us fiber. They give us energy. They give us carbohydrates, which is great as well. But we do need fiber. That's another thing that keeps us really full for a really long time. Our gut also loves it as well. So this helps our energy level. It helps our digestive health long term. Lots and lots of benefits. So don't necessarily skip out. Sometimes I find that with people who are trying to go super low carb, our fiber goes down as well. And we do need to keep our fiber up. So pay attention to your fiber sources. And these are usually going to be things that have a lot of structure. Fiber is like the bones of plants. So spinach might not necessarily give us a lot of fiber because it doesn't have very strong bones, right? Versus if we think of like lentils, oats, grains, rice. Rice gives us a little bit quinoa, beans, things like that. Fruits that have a lot of seeds like blueberries, blackberries, raspberries, those types of things. All of those foods, avocados, another one, some squashes, those things are going to give us a lot of fiber that is really critical to feeling full, feeling energized, and giving that fiber to our gut bacteria. Our gut bacteria eats the fiber. We don't necessarily eat it, but it also has a lot of benefits from just pushing things through our digestive system. So lots of benefits to those. So don't forget about that category as well. That's like our third building block. And then the last one, I would say healthy fats. Sometimes we don't necessarily need to add a lot of healthy fats to our meal because sometimes they come with either the cooking oil that we're using or they come with the protein sources like eggs and fish. Naturally, some fish have a lot of healthy fats in them as well. So we don't necessarily need to add a lot on top of it. That's where tracking your food can be really helpful because you'll just learn more about food. Some protein sources are going to have more fat with them than others, and you just learn that. So that's good, bad, whatever. We just learn to balance our meals appropriately. But if we aren't having a lot of fat from our protein or other sources of food, then it's a really good idea to add those healthy fats in as well. These are really critical for building healthy hormone levels. They keep us full and satisfied. Fat tends to slow down the digestive system in a helpful way. So food isn't just like rushing through us. And so we also have that slow, long, sustaining energy source. Fat is like throwing a log on the fire versus if we throw just little bits of carbs, that's like throwing kindling. It might get the fire started, but it's not going to necessarily last that long. So we want a mix of both so we have good, sustained energy throughout the day and we're not needing to constantly snack or constantly feed ourselves. That's important. Also, fat gives us a lot of flavor. It tastes good. It tastes good for a reason. There's usually a lot of health benefits. It usually has a lot of good nutrition in it. Has vitamins and minerals that are crucial to functioning well. And things like vitamins like A, D, E, and K, ADEC. Those vitamins are fat soluble vitamins and they are only found in fat containing food. So it's really important to still incorporate those things. And some healthy fat options would be things like olive oil, olives, avocado oil, nut seeds, tahini, fatty fish like salmon, things like that. Those would be great sources to incorporate as well. A little bonus tip as well, make sure your food tastes good. So adding salt is fine if we don't have an issue with blood pressure. Quite often it's a overall imbalance of lifestyle habits and nutrition when we talk about salt intake and having higher blood pressure. It's not necessarily always the problem. So be conscious of that, adding some salt to our food, especially if we don't have a blood pressure issue. That can be really helpful. It can also make the food taste great. And if we're not eating a lot of highly processed foods, quite often our salt intake is not high by any means. Adding herbs, adding sauces, adding flavor, that's also going to enhance, obviously, our satisfaction. So take that into consideration. If you've tried to, quote, eat healthy before and you're like, oh, it just tastes like cardboard, one, it might have been a little bit too boring, so we can probably spice it up a little bit. And two, you might not have stuck with it for long enough because the taste of food will change. I just got off a call with a client saying that her husband brought home some donuts and she's like, gosh, why did he do this? I'm gonna have a bite and it's gonna taste delicious. I'm gonna want to eat it all. I'm just getting going on, this health journey, etc. But she had a bite of it and she's only been working with me for 2 weeks and she didn't like the taste of it. She's like, God, it tastes so sickly sweet. I don't like it. It's only been changing her health and changing the way she eats probably for a couple weeks, and she's already noticing the change in how things taste. So stick with this for a little bit. Food will taste better when you eat more whole foods and less processed foods. Those preferences and tastes will change over time. All right, so let's go over a couple common mistakes. So, too small to satisfy with meals. I see this a lot. People try to diet really hard in the morning. So, they'll either skip breakfast, won't have breakfast, have a tiny breakfast, and then they are just so hungry later in the day. And it's really hard to stick to that quote calorie amount or portion size or anything like that. So, don't be afraid to have solid, satisfying meals earlier in the day, especially if we are active and out and about and things like that. Like our body needs fuel. It's okay to eat. So a salad that is, I feel bad for salads, honestly. Salads get such a bad rap when it comes to quote eating healthy. In reality, I feel like a lot of typical salads that people have or think of when they're trying to quote eat healthy, there's really sad salads. They're like, they've got like five croutons and like three tomatoes and like spinach and like no dressing. And that is a really sad salad. So like let's spice it up a little bit, get creative. It's not necessarily that like one particular type of food or one particular type of meal is like the only thing you can eat when you're quote eating healthy. Like let's get a little creative and try some new things. So, and also just that sad salad that I just described has no protein, not a lot of fat in it, so it's not going to be very satisfying. It's not going to be, it's just not a lot of calories either. So there's probably not a really good strategy. Carb only meals. So like toast and fruit or smoothies without protein. I see this a lot. While they might be whole foods, they might be 100% plant-based. They're not going to stick with this that long because carbs, like we said, are like a kindling. They're like throwing those little sticks onto the fire. That does not last long. And then we're going to be snacking again. We're going to be hungry again. We might be sluggish. And that's not the goal, right? If we are trying to really improve our health and eat well. So pairing these things with, so maybe it's toast with like smoked salmon on top or cream cheese or egg over easy or something like that. Adding some healthy fats, some protein on top of it, adding some veggies. Maybe that's toast with some eggs and veggie scramble as well. Maybe instead with that smoothie, you can add some protein powder to it. Something like that. So making sure that it's balanced and it's not just one thing, even if it's quote healthy from other criteria that you've heard before. All fat and protein, no fiber. This will keep us fueled and probably not hungry for a while because fat and protein are fairly filling. But quite often that can leave our digestion feeling a little bit sluggish. So I'd love to add some fiber to that. So that's the category that's missing, right? We've got fat, we've got protein, but where are my plants in there? I would really like to add that into the mix as well to make sure it's just a little bit more rounded out. Overly clean meals. So that's usually a red flag for me that food is probably not a lot of calories. This happens a lot with like healthy choice meals or lean cuisine meals. If you look at the back of them, it's great that it's a quick, easy option, probably has some good flavor. It's like chicken, Alfredo sauce, and vegetables, but it might honestly be like 200 calories. And 200 calories in the context of a whole day, if that's a meal for somebody, that's not a lot of calories. And that might leave us snacking. And those snack options might be a lot higher calories than we either think or than our meal, quite honestly. And then that can lead to snacking so much that we eclipse that calorie deficit if we're trying to lose weight or, it's kind of a stressful thing to do, thinking you're having a meal and then it doesn't hold you over at all. And then you have to go find a snack. Like that's just a lot of extra work, to be honest. All right, real life meal examples. These are some kind of common meals that I just use all the time. They're not complicated to make. It's a very simple format to things. If you are subscribed to the email list at parksidenutrition.com/subscribe, and if you're a part of that library, there's lots of examples as far as example meal plans, how to make example meals plans, things like that. So make sure you're subscribed there. But let's go over a couple of my favorites. So first is probably got to be bowls. Like choose a protein source, some roasted vegetables. If you want to incorporate some starchy carbohydrates like sweet potato, rice, quinoa, lentils, something like that, plus cooking in olive oil. Super simple. You can add a lot of variety to it. You can add whatever flavor you want to it. And it's a simple formula. This is honestly the formula for probably most of our dinners that we make all the time. Wraps and pitas or like a sandwich or open face sandwich is another good option. So I need a protein source. Maybe that's grilled chicken. I need some flavor. I'm going to add hummus to that. Then I need some plants, cucumber, tomato, onion, maybe. And then using a carb balance wrap. So carb balance, that's like the brand. I think it's actually Mission brand, but carb balance wrap is the specific type of wrap and it has a ton of fiber on it. So they do, I believe, have a gluten-free one, but most of the time they do contain gluten, but they have a ton of fiber. So if you don't need to be gluten-free, this is a fantastic option for you. And it's not going to spike the carbs really high. And it's a great way to just throw a meal together. It's so easy to just make a wrap really quick at home, have all the ingredients handy, and takes 2 minutes. So highly recommend having those on hand. And then my next one is an egg scramble. So eggs plus some egg whites, or if you have any leftover protein, that would be another way to kind of boost the protein content. My formula personally is usually 2 eggs, 2 ounces of leftover protein, whatever that may be, and then about 200 grams, again, grams, because I'm using food scale, or 2 cups if you have to, 200 grams of vegetables and maybe some gluten-free toast on the side, or probably just a piece of fruit, to be honest, for a starchy carbohydrate if I need it. And that's my simple formula, kind of a rule of two. 2 eggs plus 2 ounces plus 200 grams of vegetables. That gets us going pretty well. You could also add some avocado to that if you wanted to as well. But that's another fan favorite. Eggs have a lot of nutrition in them. They get overlooked, I think, a lot because the yolks have higher fat. But if we're having two, we're still getting a lot of the nutrition, and we're adding 2 ounces of another leftover protein. We're getting more concentrated protein there. So highly recommend that recipe. Another meal option I like to have in the back of my head is also kind of call it a picnic lunch, or basically just piece it together. So this could be snacky lunch, hard-boiled egg, apple, some nut butter, maybe a side salad or a bag salad if I have it, or some berries on the side, or maybe this is carrots and like hummus or something like that. But kind of like a charcuterie board, broken down charcuterie board type of lunch. It works. It's easy to assemble, and it can be great for a working lunch if you have to do that too. But all right, so those are my basic meals. So just to review, I got my protein source, really, really critical. A lot of people are not eating enough protein. Start with just those 3 to 4 ounces at every meal, as much as possible. If you can bump it up a little bit from that, a little bit, just an extra bite or another ounce or so like that, that would be great. It might feel filling at first, might feel like too much food, but it's probably just because you haven't been having a lot of protein and it feels like a lot for your digestion. Your digestion will catch up. We don't need to overstuff ourselves. You can stop when you're full and things like that. But having a protein source at most meals, having a lot of plants, so non-starchy veggies and fruits, things like berries, spinach, broccoli, lots of color. I do believe that our food visually should also look really good. I think that helps it be more satisfying and more filling. So add color to it, make it interesting, add different textures. With our healthy fats, we can add more textures with like nuts and seeds and things like that, and that can again make it more satisfying. And then those starchy carbohydrates, adding some of those. So that's going to be our main fiber source. So really paying attention. Am I hitting these 4 categories? Protein, lots of colorful plants, some starchy or fiber-rich plants, and then some healthy fats in there. And flavor. Don't forget about flavor. So those are the types of meals we are trying to create. It doesn't have to be complicated, but I do think we need to practice having better meals before we look too hard at what are the best snacks or what are some high protein snacks. I will be covering that in the next episode, but I want us to focus on the meals first. If you have really good meals, we don't need as many snacks. Also, I think that's a way to make nutrition or eating well more affordable. If we're focusing mostly on our meals that we're preparing at home, the affordability really gets a lot better versus trying to grab a snack here, trying to grab this out there. So try to plan a little bit so you can have those good, wholesome meals. And then quite often we don't need to buy as many snack foods, which can greatly reduce our grocery bill as well. So if you have ever struggled with the kind of mental side of nutrition, try not to think of this from a standpoint of needing to necessarily meal plan everything or be super exact with it or any rules about nutrition. Try to let some of the quote rules go. I know I just gave you a framework to work with, but really think of this as a framework for fueling your life in a positive way, not necessarily from a view of restriction or I can't have this, I can't have that. Just focus on the majority, fueling your life, giving your body what it needs to function really well. And usually that gets easier mentally to keep working on this stuff. So I encourage you to keep experimenting with combinations, find what flavors you like, find what food makes you truly feel your best, keep notes on that so you can repeat it. And eventually you have this list of meals that just makes you feel fantastic all the time. It's really fun. And that's where the motivation gets easier because you just feel so good. You don't want to not feel good, right? All right, my final takeaway here is your body doesn't need a certain type of diet. It needs nutrition. It needs vitamins. It needs minerals. It needs the building blocks found in our food to feel good, to function well. Focus on that food that energizes you, that satisfies you, that supports your long-term health. Making those small investments now pays off big in the future. If you think you're young enough or active enough or skinny enough to get away with eating whatever and not providing your body with healthy fuel, you're missing out. I work with a lot of people that are confronted with chronic disease later in their life. And these things happen 10, 20 years. They start 10, 20 years, 30 years even before you realize it. So if you can make these small investments now, doesn't mean you have to be obsessive with food, but if you make these small investments in your health today before you are forced to completely overhaul your health and undo decades of damage, it really is worth it. Because I see a lot of people struggling with this later in life. So just take that initiative now to learn a little bit about food, make some good choices when you feel like you are able to, and you'll really, really reap the benefits later. And also, if you have kids or if you have family members around you, it's just supporting them as well and being that role model to like, hey, let's take care of ourselves because I really want to take care of my family. I want to live a long time. I want to have a lot of quality of life later in life as well. So this is not meant to instill fear by any means. It is meant to empower you to use the influence you have over your health now before like you feel you're forced to overhaul everything. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure that you share this episode on your social media or with a friend. I greatly appreciate it. Please follow the podcast, leave a comment with your thoughts, or leave a topic that I should cover. But thank you so much for being here. Have a fantastic day, and I will talk to you in the next episode.